Hi guys, welcome back to Step by Step with me, Shelby Church. This episode is going to be all about making friends as an adult, and we're actually going to have my first guest on, my friend Lauren, who is super extroverted and I think just a good person to have on to talk about making friends because she's good at it, at meeting random people, like at an event, random situation, and actually becoming friends with them rather than just acquaintances forever. That's what we're going to be talking about. It's more of a discussion, and then at the end I'm gonna go over what I think is the best way to make friends as an adult that has really worked for me. So if you want to just hear another like solo part at the end, you can skip to that or wait for that, but I'm just gonna go over that because we have more of a discussion, and then I wanted to give like my best tip kind of at the end. So let's get into the discussion with Lauren. So I'm here with my first guest today. This is Lauren Lipman.
Hi. Oh, I'm honored. I'm your first guest. I didn't know that.
First guest. I actually did record one other one, but I haven't posted it yet.
Liar.
And so I guess you're my second guest, technically. My bad. But today's episode is going to be all about, it's kind of a follow-up to the video I did about the loneliness epidemic. This one is how to make friends with a friendship expert.
An expert. I went to the Friendship University, got my degree.
No, but actually Lauren is a very extroverted, bubbly person who I feel like you make friends like pretty easily. And anytime we go to an influencer event, I always want to bring you because I know that we're going to leave with like new friends.
Yes.
We're going to like branch out, and with other people, that's not really the case. Especially influencer events, you guys. Like
They're intimidating.
We'll get into that. Yeah. But you know, like I feel like you've always just been you're naturally just friendly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which growing up, I didn't realize how weird that was. Like,
I know a lot of people aren't like naturally like that. I feel like for a lot of people, you learn how to be like that. I feel like that's what I did. I was more naturally like shy growing up and just like scared.
well, question for you. Would you consider your parents shy, introverted, or extroverted, like growing up?
I don't know. When I was growing up, how they were?
Like if you were shopping with your mom or your dad and someone needed help, would your dad be like, let me help? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like kind of small things like that.
I feel like they would not hesitate to like ask for help.
I love your parents.
Yeah. It's interesting because when you graduate college, it's like even the people who have the easiest time making friends, it's still kind of hard for them. And so the people who have a harder time making friends, it is like so hard. You know what I mean?
Point. Yeah,
because you're just not put in those situations. You have to put yourself into those situations. So that's a bit about it. That's just context on like us. Like I feel like you grew up like super extroverted. I am like, because it doesn't change. Like I'm still introverted. Like I want my time to myself at the end of the day. And
how
like,
you recharge.
No, but I like hanging out with people too. But yeah, no, it's like I need to like have my TikTok scroll time. You know,
I feel like over the years I've become more. I wouldn't call myself. See, I feel like I'm like. That's not true. I'm not an introvert. No.
One day you said that though when we were roommates, and I was like, Lauren.
No, I've just.
You're lying. The last.
No, I feel like maybe it's just like a getting older thing where I was like,
you like your alone time more?
Okay, I've come to appreciate my alone time more. And even just being like a person, like when I lived, one of the houses I lived in college, I lived with like 9 roommates. I only shared like a living space with like 3 others, but it was in this like giant house. So it's like anytime you come home from a final and you're like, oh my God, I felt so horrible about that final. I'd walk into the kitchen, they're making margaritas. They hand you a margarita. And I was like, wow, this is really fun.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'd be like, I just want to go home and like watch Netflix or something. I come home and there's like a raging party at the house. So it's like,
no.
Those are the times. And I was like, I value my alone time. I value my alone time.
Definitely, yeah. I feel like it's important to be like good with your alone time.
Yes.
This balance, you know what I mean? Like too much of either one, it will make you crazy, I feel like.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just do think it is important for like, I liked what you said about putting yourself in those situations. Because
no, you have to. That's really the key difference when you're an adult versus growing up is like you're just constantly in those situations, like in school and whatever.
Yeah.
But now, especially with remote work, people aren't necessarily put in those situations. Like you may have to like seek out a job where you're in person, but also you can't count on your coworkers to become your besties.
No. Sometimes you can.
You kind of need other things too. And I feel like we both have like I feel like pretty poppin' social lives, and so we can
sometimes too
talk. We can speak on that, yeah. But I feel like different approaches to it because I approach it from the more like I do. I still spend a lot of time alone, but I feel like I like also spend time with people. I don't know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like you living alone tell me
is
if I'm
why,
wrong,
probably.
But it's like I feel like you've like enjoyed finding your alone time and then being like, okay, I'm done being alone now. I'm gonna go to Lauren's.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to tennis.
All those things. So yeah, we'll share our expertise on how you can, if you are looking to like make more friends and whatever, these are going to be like some ways you can do that. But then also a little bit about friendship in general, because I think there's some things there, dynamics of friend groups and all of that. So, okay, the first thing I thought of is if you are in your 20s, especially early 20s, I say that mostly because people do this for financial reasons, but roommates can become really good friends.
It's a great way to meet people.
That was something that I didn't even I didn't do when I was like 21, 22, because Monica still lived in LA. And then I was like, oh, I don't want to live with random people. I remember thinking that. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that, just because there's going to be some conflicts and whatever. But then I was so glad I did, because for the most part, like most of my roommates were cool and became friends, and it was like a fun little community.
Who were your first roommates after Monica moved?
It was Lucy and Bree.
Got it. Oh,
yeah, and it was fun. Like we would hang out sometimes, and like they became better friends than like I did with them. Like they too were closer.
They clicked.
They were very into the same kind of music, and like they just had more in common, honestly. And then I was like the other friend.
Like you all made good like housemates, right?
Yeah. I feel like for the most part. So that's a good way, because there was a study that came out that said to become from like acquaintances to even like a casual friend or like friend in general, it says you have to spend 50 hours with someone, which who has the time?
That's just like
the time?
Wild to think about.
That's why
50 hours when you quantify it like that.
I know. That's why roommates become good friends, though, is because you hit 50 hours in like a freaking week. So it's just like speed ramped.
Yeah.
You know?
And then that's why like it is important to, I mean, thankfully in the digital world, hopefully you're able to like Facebook stalk, Instagram creep to be like, does this person match my vibe? Are they going to like do a weird satanic ritual or something when I'm not home, or you know what I mean?
That's the tricky thing too, is like, say you move to a new city, it's like you don't maybe have that many options. What if you don't know anyone there?
Yeah.
Ideally, you would want to have roommates who are like friends of friends.
Yeah.
But you know what I've seen is like there are like podcast Facebook groups where people do like housing stuff. Like they'll be like, oh, my room's for rent. And so that's what I would do if
industry.
If I moved to like Nebraska and I didn't know anyone. I don't know why I picked that, but basically shout out if you're from there. But
it's like cut out my little.
If I moved there, I don't know anyone there. I would go on the city's Facebook page for like, there's one called like Sweats in the City. It's like these wellness.
Those girls.
Yeah. They have Facebook pages in like New York and LA where you can like sell furniture or like rent out your room. Those are people that have common interests, even though you may not know anyone in common. It's better than the crapshoot of like
Craigslist.
Exactly. Which didn't you have a Craigslist roommate?
did. Yeah. My first roommate in LA was Craigslist. I will say it was 2016, 2017, when like the only dating app at the time was Tinder, I think. So it was like a different world. So yeah, there were some like weird situations like you'd have to scroll through where I'm just like, oh my God, who is about to be on the other end of this email? Found this girl, Amanda, was amazing, great roommates. And it's funny, it's like this thing where her and I never became best friends, but we were perfect roommates. Not once did we ever like, our dishes are in the same, like not once did we ever have any roommate issues. We just lived really well together, even though we kind of lived slightly different lives.
Right.
And it was great.
Yeah.
Love living with her.
And that's one thing with roommates too. It's like, it's a good way to make friends, but it's also in some ways not a good way, because a lot of times they are friends of proximity. You move out.
Situationship.
Yeah.
Yes.
You move out, and like, I definitely don't hang out with like most of the people that I was roommates.
Used to live with. Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be fun for a bit. Yeah. But also we were roommates and we still hang out like all the time. So it's just, not going to be like everyone. But
I think on that end, it's like important to be like, what is it? Like taking inventory of the people that you keep around you, the people that like, if I didn't text you first to make plans, are they ever texting me?
That's a good point. We can totally get into that with friendships of like the dynamic of like, okay, what if you're the friend who's always making the plans and it's like annoying?
It's like, were we only friends because I was down the hall from you? Is that really the basis of our friendship? Like I thought it was more. And that's always like an odd thing, but I feel like that's common.
Back to the 50 hours of time thing. Yeah. What do you think of that? Because I actually don't think that's accurate. I'm like, I don't think I need 50 hours to be like just a friend, maybe like, yeah, a close friend, a good friend, it would be like 50 or more. But just like,
I mean, if you're trying to quantify it, like, yeah, you and I live together. And what's really funny is when you asked me, you snatched me up to move in with you, we didn't really know each other that well.
No,
we had only hung out a couple of times.
Friends of friends.
And we clicked. And it's just like, I was like, oh, I love hanging out with Shelby. I like how I feel when I'm hanging out with Shelby. I like how the vibes are. And it's like, you do kind of have to really, I feel like even at a young age, sometimes it's hard to be like, well, it's just nice to have people around me, even if like that person or people aren't being nice to you or aren't like making you feel good or like not filling up your cup. And so it's like you and I didn't know each other for 50 hours. And then you were like, come live with me in this place.
We had hung out maybe like 2 times.
Yeah.
And we're like.
You just click.
From another friend from our friend Adrian. And then I think one time we randomly hung out. Just us. We like went and took photos and stuff.
Yeah. That was fun.
That was fun.
I feel like the hours don't matter as much as the longevity of the friendship. Yeah.
That was what I was thinking. It's like, it just depends on the person.
Yes.
Some people you just like really click with.
And then you're like, you don't live in this city, but anytime you do come into town, it's great. We pick up right where we left off.
Yeah.
I have so much fun. And like, maybe we send random texts or FaceTimes or something. You know what I mean? I just feel like 50 hours. I mean, I guess if you have to like quantify it, sure.
Yeah.
But like, I guess 50 hours sounds like a long time. I feel like 50 hours is like,
that's like
better than like a casual friend.
No, I know, right? I'm like, what?
That's a long time.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of why the roommates thing, because you like hit that number. So it's like, if that person is someone that you're going to click with and be friends with, it's just going to happen way faster. Yeah. Than if you're getting coffee with them, it would take what, like fucking 50 weeks?
No.
You're getting coffee for an hour? No,
50
right?
days.
It kind of doesn't make sense. Well, you'd have to be getting coffee every day. I know. Anyway, so let's talk about, so when you moved here from
Colorado.
You moved to Orange County first. You moved with your boyfriend at the time. And you knew a couple people though in Orange County, but coming to LA, you didn't really know many people, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What was your approach?
So I moved from Colorado to Orange County with a guy and didn't really know a ton of people in Orange County. I knew like a small handful, but we didn't really hang out. I don't know if it was like work schedule stuff. And what's so funny is the reason I know you and any of my friends here is because of my ex-boyfriend's manager / tax guy.
He was my tax guy.
Yes. And he got me this interview on this like YouTube channel, and I like drove up from Orange County to Santa Clarita to film. Adrian was there. That's an instance of like, we clicked. Adrian and I met and we were just like, I know we're like on like a work set. Like we got in trouble on set for talking too much because we were just like,
yeah, you guys just.
And then if it weren't for Adrian, like later reaching out to me on Facebook Messenger being like, hi, are we like long lost sisters? Adrian then introduced me to Shelby, introduced me to Haley, who then became my roommates for like 3-4 years.
That is so key.
It's wild.
That's so key. So for anyone who like, you just moved somewhere and you're like feeling maybe down about like, you haven't found your group yet.
Lonely.
It took meeting one person to plug you into like,
dude, I can't believe
your
that happened.
people, because now those are really, it's like every one of Adrian's friends has
and they're in the
become your
YouTube
friend.
space. It's just like, I could not believe
sometimes
how
it just
that
takes
worked.
like one person you click with, and then it's like, oh, all their friends you kind of click with too.
Opens it all up,
which is really cool.
When I was in Orange County though, during this time, I also went on Bumble BFF.
Yes.
Is that still a thing?
Okay, it is, because Monica and Jason told me that they made a profile on it, and they like looked, but because they live in the desert, so there's not a lot of people their age. That's why.
Well, it's not a big deal. It's funny if you're like a couple going on a dating app
because it looked like they were swingers, and
looking
so
for a third.
That's why they like got rid of it. Is they were like, this looks kind of weird, even though they're
looking for a friend.
Their intentions was just. They just wanted to like meet other people, like wholesome, just like.
Well, so then in my brain, Monica should have just done it.
Oh yeah.
Just her face, just being like, just moved here, want to play tennis,
golf
with people.
I've never tried the Bumble BFF thing or meeting friends online, and I've heard some people, they're against it because it's too random, and then it's like, what do you have in common?
Well, that's anybody in the world. Like if you were in a classroom of people, like that's random. It's, you got to find the people that you're like, ooh, we have the same style. Ooh, we make the same jokes. Like,
have you heard of that time left thing? Have you heard of that?
That sounds very familiar. What is that?
It's an app. This is one way that people could meet people. I haven't tried it, but we have a friend who did. I'll cut in case he doesn't want me to say it, but I don't tried it.
Really?
I need to ask about his experience with
for
it.
him.
Yeah,
He's the best.
Yeah.
Love him.
And that was the first time I heard about it. And then I saw Natalie Barbu, this other YouTuber, she tried it. So it's basically an app where we should actually do it and then
It's like
talk about
time left.
We should talk about our experience in the podcast. So basically, it's not like a dating thing. It's just to meet people in general. But I think for people who are looking to date also, they probably kind of are low-key like
Do they just, it could be called just networking.
But what they do is they match you with people to have dinner with on a Wednesday. And so all these people every Wednesday in every city pretty much.
That's cool.
They're all getting these dinners and it's like the time left group. And the funny thing is you pick the vibe you want, like how much you want to spend, what you like, if you like a hole in the wall or a fancy place, and they match you with people who also like that.
That's cool.
And then a couple random things, like I think it says like their zodiac sign or something. And the location. So it's like we could do it we live in the same neighborhood. So it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe you'll meet people in your neighborhood.
That's really cool because you're right. I feel like finding common ground is how a stranger goes from a stranger on the street to like, oh, we're kind of similar. We could be friends. Maybe.
Totally. So the funny thing too with that is basically after the dinner, they meet up with other time left groups at a bar. And then they're all
cool.
like, I know, isn't it kind of cool?
I've never heard of this. Well, Shelby's would be tennis.
Well, it's like
Tennis.
It's dinner, so that. But I would definitely pick like, ooh, I want to go to like a nice place. Yeah. And I feel like you'd be like hole in the wall.
I like hole in the walls. While I
you
do like appreciate a
so
good bouge,
this is what we do. We should go to different dinners
Okay.
and then we should meet up at the bar after.
Yes, I'm down.
That would be fun.
Reporting live.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I
So
love that.
okay, I'll look
That's
into
cool.
that. No, that's a good thing
That's
for
really
people.
cool.
It's like, it's that app is actually doing really well, I heard, because people just want to meet new people.
And we were talking about this earlier, like I met one person off of Bumble BFF and she was so sweet and we still kind of like, we follow each other on Instagram to this day. When I like lived in Orange County, we went on a couple of hikes and she was just so great. And I was like, I cannot believe that I met such a nice person on a random app. Like it's like dating, but for friendships. And it was so great. I ended up moving to LA. Since like 2020, COVID, I mean, I feel like before then, some industries were work from home.
Yeah.
Hybrid was not really a thing. Like not a thing that I've ever heard of. And more people were like, no, I don't have a home office because I leave the office. I go to the office and I come home and that's like my work life.
Yeah.
I feel like ever since COVID, working from home and having those options, it's just become much more common where people are like, I wake up, I shower, I sit down in my living room, do my job, close my laptop, go to the gym, come home, and it's like you don't have any separation when you're just completely alone.
Yeah.
When you're at an office, you're like walking through the hallways, you're going to meetings, and whether or not you're having like fun friendship conversations, you're still being social.
You're being social, and you're also, by the end of the day, you're probably a little drained from it. Whereas I feel like it's the opposite with remote work or if I'm editing all day.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, I'm like, I want to hang out with some people.
Yes.
I'm like a little bored, Depending
on if your job's like
true.
Like
Sometimes
Matt's always on Zoom meetings, and sometimes when he gets home, he's like, I need to chill.
Yeah.
My
I
brain.
can see that.
And I'm like, fair.
Honestly, even sometimes I'll be editing, so I'm like not like interacting with people, and even after that, I'm like my brain is fried. Like I don't even want to like talk, which is weird.
It's rock time. It's time to rock.
Sometimes you just need that when you're tired. Yeah. You went to Orange County. You met Adrian. Were there other ways that you made friends, or you just found basically from that?
Not really.
Yeah.
I lived in a neighborhood. Obviously, I'm not with a guy anymore. So during that time, me and the ex
a new
were
boyfriend now.
Yeah, new amazing boyfriend. But in Orange County, me and that boyfriend were having lots of hard times, and so I wasn't really in like a confident place internally to be like, my home life is so great, I want to invite people over. So that probably affected my ability to like want to invite people over if I'm fighting with the dude. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because then I moved to LA and I couldn't even believe that Adrian was such an amazing person that like when I was going through the breakup with that guy in Orange County, she like let me stay at her house for like a week. And sometimes I find when people are, because it's easy to be like, I'm so lonely and I'm blah, 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 and I'm down on myself. And like it becomes like addicting to be down on yourself, if that makes sense. Like you kind of start to make that a personality trait because it's like comforting.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if anyone's in that space, I like urge you to push yourself. I urge you to like send a text, host people at your house, go to a park. Like you have to force yourself into situations that you might
Yeah.
be uncomfortable in, because the more that
So
you do
true.
that, the more comfortable you'll be in those situations.
And that's the thing too, is like sometimes even like if it's a new person that you're hanging out with, sometimes the first time it's not as fun as when you know someone
Yeah.
so well. And that's normal.
It's like a first date.
Yeah.
You're nervous.
Or even the first time you go somewhere, yeah, you might feel like a little bit of an outsider because you are. And you have to keep going. And
Yeah.
then you're going to feel like, oh, I know people here. Like when I first started going to this one tennis group, the Racket Club LA
Yeah.
one, it was like Happy Hour Hits, which isn't around anymore. But the first time I went, I was like nervous because I was like, I don't know what the vibe's going to be. Like everyone looks really cool.
And everyone already knows each other.
Yeah. And so I go and like, just was like trying to be like generally friendly, and people were like pretty friendly because people are there to like socialize too. It's not just tennis.
That's good.
But it definitely was a vibe of like, okay, a lot of people already know each other, but
Which is so intimidating, but it's, yeah.
yeah, but it was still friendly too. And like each time I went, I would meet like a couple new people who I would like get their number so we could like play another time, whatever. And then we'd be like, oh, are you going? Eventually, you know, after like 3 or 4 times of going, I felt like, oh, now I know people there.
You're
So it just
comfortable,
takes
yeah.
a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, but even sometimes getting to that point, what were we talking about earlier? Like it is kind of like helping yourself get over the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
Not like dating rejection, but they're
But
related.
friendship rejection's a real
Yes.
thing for sure. Because with a new person going from the acquaintance
Stranger,
to friend, you gotta put yourself on the line at some point to be like, let's hang out.
Yeah.
A coworker maybe.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like actually hanging out, like being like, wait, should we hang out outside of work?
Yes, totally. And
You
it's
know?
like my advice is to never be afraid to make the first move.
Yeah.
And that sentiment into every part of your life. Never ever be afraid to make the first move.
Yeah.
That's-
because if it doesn't work out with whatever it is, it's like, okay, that's just not meant for you. Like there's probably a better like friend fit out there. And that is true with like really everything. I feel
Yeah.
like,
And I feel like one of the top things that people are afraid of over like death is like fear of rejection.
yeah.
It's either that or public speaking. I can't remember, but it's like they're kind of similar in the sense of you're putting yourself out there, and this person or this group of people, they could literally say no to your face, or they could say yes, and they could become your new best friend, and they
Yeah.
could lead you to your husband, lead you to your next job opportunity. And like we were talking about, it's the strength of your weakest ties that you should just always say yes. You never know. Like I didn't know that the tax guy was going to introduce me to this and this and this, and now like 8 years later, here we are podcasting on your couch talking about friendship.
Totally.
It's just like funny how
From like
all
the
of that
random
works. Yeah.
weak ties.
If you just stay in your routine, and if you keep seeing the same people every single day, like nothing's gonna ever change. Nothing's gonna ever grow. If you're ever like hosting a pregame or something at your house and someone's like, hey, can I bring a friend? My advice is to always say
You're
yes.
like, yeah, for
More
sure.
the merrier. Like,
Yeah.
always have that mentality.
Yeah, I will say on the friend rejection thing. Okay, so I had to work on this for myself because I used to take things so personally. I'd be like, and I don't know why I thought this. This was just like the way I thought at the time, and now I'm like, why did I think that way? But if I was like, oh, do you want to do this day, and they couldn't for some reason, I assumed it's like they don't like me. They don't want to hang out. They don't want to hang out. And then I started being like, wait, is that even true though? Like, why am I thinking like that? You know, when your frontal lobe like forms.
I think that's way more common than you'd think.
And
that a lot of people get sensitive.
I started being like, oh, I think I saw something somewhere that was like, just don't take anything personally, literally ever at all. Because the fact of the matter is most of the time it isn't personal. And even if it is, it's really not helpful to like internalize that and make it personal.
Yes.
It's like, even if it was personal, you don't need to even think about it. You could be like, for example, let's say I was like, hey, do you want to hang out next week and get coffee or whatever? And you were like,
No, I'm busy.
You were like, no, I'm busy. But you weren't really busy. You just didn't want to. I could just think, oh, she's just busy, whatever. And that's like honestly the healthiest way to think about it, even if it's not true.
It's because that sentiment of like what other people think of you is just none of your business.
You have to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just makes it so anytime you're doing that, you don't really care as much.
And that like that's like not a form, maybe it is a form of like, it's anxiety, social anxiety, the way that we like talk to ourselves of like, oh, this person gave me a weird look, but maybe they were having a bad day, but then I would internalize and be like, oh my God, and it's like, get yourself out of those
so
patterns.
much of that is like created in our mind, and it's like literally not real.
No, and that's wild.
It's like the root of it.
A cage.
But then once you realize it, like maybe your first initial thought will be like, oh, they gave me a weird look. But then you're like, oh, they're probably just like, having a bad day. Maybe they have a headache.
Yes,
Whatever.
that's a healthy mentality.
Yeah. And once you just start seeing every like social interaction like that, just really give people like extreme benefit of the doubt, you just are like, I don't know,
You're happier.
like lighter. You're just like, oh, whatever.
You can go into any social situation. Like,
Yeah.
how would you be if someone you didn't know or a brand new friend like invited you to a party at their house where you didn't know a person at all, a single soul? 5 years ago, Shelby, would you be excited? Would you be like, I don't want to go, but I'll force myself? How do you think you would act?
I would be the same. I would be like, it just kind of depends actually, like if it's convenient to go.
Fair.
Or all of that. Like, let's say it's convenient to go, but I don't know anyone else is going to be there. I'd be like, let's say I want to go.
Yeah.
Let's say I want to go. Because initially I kind of wouldn't. Because I'd
It'd be like, what's in it for me?
To me, that doesn't sound as fun as when I could go do something with friends I already have.
Totally.
Because I already have friends I could do that. But let's say I didn't.
It's that.
Yeah.
Let's say you had just moved to a new city.
Okay, then
that
I'd
would
be like, okay, I'm going. But right before, I would get a little nervy.
Yeah,
I would
that's
get a little
normal.
bit like, but like whatever, and like know each other really well.
Everyone's mean.
Yeah, and also I will say there was an instance where this recently happened where well, kind of. So our mutual friend had a party. You didn't go. I forget why, but you were invited, and our other friend went. I knew one other friend going, but I was like on my way, and I started getting that like before going anxiety of like, oh, I'm going to show up alone and I only know the host. I don't know the other people in here. And so I call our other friend and was like, oh, you're on the way. I'll pick you up. So we walked in together, and I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm so glad I did, because I walk in here and it is the most tight-knit little groups who have known each other for forever. And I was like, oh, I fucking hate that. One thing I don't get that anxious like social anxiety if it's like an event where no one can bring a +1. It's really, it's only if you have to go somewhere and you're going by yourself, but it feels like there's already these people who all know each other, or everyone brought a +1 and you didn't. That to me is very intimidating. I don't like that.
I agree.
I don't like those situations.
Same. When you're like, oh, you have a +1, you've got like a fallback to chat with, and I'm just like,
it's kind of awkward.
How y'all
but
doing?
I have done that before, and one thing I will say is it's usually like only awkward for like the first like 10 minutes, and then you like meet some people, and then maybe you meet some other people, and it's like it's not like that bad the whole time.
And then the next time you do it, you're more confident. The next time, I feel like putting every single human on earth should be put in that situation.
Yeah.
Because it's good social skills to learn. It's good, like, okay, maybe you go and it did suck, and then you go home and you're like, well, learn. You know what I mean? It's just like, you have to just kind of prepare yourself for all of it and any of it. And honestly, things are usually just built up in our heads more than they actually are.
And it depends on my mood, honestly, too. Like,
fair.
I am fine with doing that kind of thing. This is weird when I have the most energy in the day, which is like the morning, but most social things like that are at night, and I'm tired.
Yeah.
And so like I've gone actually to some events, like influencer type ones like that during the day, and I'm fine because I'm so on, and I am genuinely like curious about people and have a lot to say. But once it's the evening, I'm like, my natural energy is gone, and I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
And so I have a harder time with that. Yeah, that's when I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. Let's flip this, because I know you in that situation. You're gonna like be fine. You're just naturally like, you probably were born talking.
Oh, I was born talking.
Yeah.
That's like, I have like there's all these like funny stories of my parents being like, Lauren going up and talking to everybody.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like you don't even get anxious at all going into a situation like that.
It depends. I don't think it's anxious. Like, I'm someone that really enjoys public speaking.
Yeah.
I enjoy like I do like on camera hosting, and so like I feel like that is an odd, not normal thing that I thrive in a situation where I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Like I used to say this, and this was like a fun skill that I honed in on in college. Like, me and my girlfriends would go to like frat parties and random parties in the hill, SCO-buffs, and just like, we wouldn't know anyone, and then by the end of the night, everyone would be like, bye, Lauren, it was so much fun. And it's just like, it's like a fun, I don't know, challenge in my head to just be like, how many friends can I make? But I don't know. That sounds weird. That's not like the mentality I go into it with.
No, not really. I feel like you just kind of,
It just happens.
you're going to an event with other people. So of course you want to talk to the other people. Because what the fuck, I'm sorry, is the point of going to an event if you're only going to talk to the person you came with?
So many people do that though.
You could just hang out with them at home.
So many people do that.
I know.
And it's weird.
Because we go to a good amount, I would say, of influencer events.
Yeah.
And no, yeah, I love to bring you to those because I know it's like we're gonna meet a bunch of people.
We have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
we have a lot of fun.
And the thing is, with influencer events, people kind of have their guard up a lot of the time. Sometimes not.
I know it's hit or miss on the vibes of the event. Like sometimes it's completely stuck up and really weird, and you're like, I'm like, let's just you and I leave. But for the most part, I feel like you and I always try really hard to be like, let's go talk to those people over there. They look cool. We're like, let's go have a friend.
And we definitely have actually met some really cool people that way. And then I feel like I'll meet other influencers and they're like, yeah, I don't really go to those events because like, you know, everyone, whatever. And I'm like, you know what it is at an influencer event, especially, no one wants to be the first person to say something to someone else.
Which I think is
But
wrong.
if you do,
you should.
Sometimes like we've been at these events and started making conversation and it's almost like these people are like, oh, thank God. Somebody, you know, because
you
like,
broke the ice.
Because it's like boring if not. Yeah.
And people are nervous and it's LA and everyone's just like, I don't know. And blah, blah, blah. Like, and people just are trying to like size each other up. And it's like, at the end of the day, we're all standing in the drink line, trying to read the drink menu. I'm going to compliment this girl's earrings because they're cute. Then we start talking. You have a dog? I have a dog. Oh my God, where do you live? And it's just like, it's more fun to put yourself out there. That's my mentality. Is it's way more fun to talk to people. And like, even if you meet someone and you're like, oh, we are so freaking different. And you kind of have to like smile your way through it until like you're done talking and moving on. It's it's fun. It's exciting. I
feel like, say we're going to an influencer event. Like there's a few things it's like we'll do to be more like, to have a more fun time. Yeah. Like number one thing when you get there, we're going to go do whatever the activation is. There's always like a little photo moment, a little like, oh, you make bracelet a little thing.
Or like engraving something.
Or like there's a bar, you go get a drink. Even if you're not drinking alcohol, you just go get something to like have in your hand. People are standing in line. So whenever you're doing those little things, even if it doesn't sound that fun, because like, I don't know why, usually I go to those and my instinct isn't that I want to even do it. I'm like, I'd rather just... And
I'm the one dragging you and I'm like, get in the line with me.
So basically, in those things, it's like, oh, there's other people that are usually like, wait, how do you do this? The permanent, where do we sign up? And then like those little moments of being like, I'll show you, like we just did it. Little things like that, or like in the line complimenting people.
It's like, don't be afraid to like randomly start a conversation. Like
just
I feel
saying
like people
random stuff, honestly.
Don't take it so seriously. It's fun. We're all humans. We're all like social creatures. I like to think for the most part.
Yeah.
I feel like in the drink line is where you and I thrive.
Yeah.
There's people in front of us.
People are waiting. They're a little bit like, you know.
We're laughing about how long it's taking or something. And it's just like.
Or like, oh, what are you going to get? Like they'll usually have like a few different like little random or if someone just got their drink, it's like.
What is that?
Wait, is it good?
That's a good one.
Is it good? Do you recommend? Like there are honestly so many like little convo starters.
Convo starters, I think tip number one that's like my favorite is compliment. Compliment someone, find something. Oh my God, I love your shoes. I've been looking for those. Where did you get them? They're so cute.
Can never go wrong with that.
Never go wrong with that. Earrings, literally just like if someone were to come up to you off the street and be like, where did you get that shirt? That's so cool. You would like feel, oh, thank you.
True.
Oh my
You're
God.
Like
that
you do
kind
like
of
it.
Like my whole thing is trying to disarm people. Yeah. Especially in like uncomfortable situations. Like when you went to that friend event where I was out of town and you didn't know anybody. It's like someone in that group that was like being all cliquey. I would have liked for someone to disarm them. Disarm's not the word. I would have liked for someone to kind of turn to you and be like a little bit more welcoming to you, right? It's like, oh, this girl doesn't know anybody. We all know our friend who's hosting. Hi, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm so-and-so. And it's just like, just to be a little more welcoming. I don't know.
I know it's nice when is that situation, but you can't always count on it.
You can't always count on it.
But I feel like you'd be fine, even like you in particular, you would probably go in and you just go up to the group and be like, hey squad, like what are we doing?
Accurate. So
and I would be like, oh my God, like I don't know if I can do it.
What's funny is like I can think of so many times that you and I have been out conquering the world. And like
that's what we call it if we go out, like if our friend group Bigger extended friend group will like go to a bar, but guess what? You're not going to meet that many people, different people, if it's a big group of like 10 girly pops.
10 girls all like in our heels and stuff. And Shelby and I'd be like, they'd be like, oh, you want to go like the drink line? And be like, Shelby and I are going to go over there. And it's just like, then we would just be this like little unit, just like and walking around, meeting people.
Like a smaller group, you'll meet more people.
Yes. A big group of girls all standing around in a circle with their drinks. Like, no guy's going to come and talk to you.
No one's infiltrating
and
that.
the ones that do are not the ones you want to hang out with.
No. Honestly, true. A little too much confidence there.
I feel like so many times come into my brain when like you and I have done that and we've been like so gone up to random guys that they're like the look on their face is so like shocked that do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, people are excited generally. Yeah.
And that's how we're gonna battle the loneliness epidemic, guys. Put yourself out there.
You know, I heard Ali Abdal, this other YouTuber, he said everyone's friendly, you just have to go first. And I was like,
that's cute.
That is so true.
No, it is.
Usually, I mean, 8-9 times out of 10, every once in a while there's gonna be someone who's just not receptive to it. But again, nothing personal. Like you don't really know what's going on in their day or whatever. Maybe they're in a bad mood maybe they just got in like a little fender bender.
Maybe they got laid off. Like, something. You have no idea what's going on.
You really don't know. And so you just assume they're having a bad day or something.
It's so weird because in this digital age, like our phones are another version of comfort and another version of like if you're at a party and let's say you don't have a drink in your hand, you're gonna have your phone in your hand. If you're uncomfortable, like it's just this like weird fallback.
Yes, it definitely does take us all out of the moment. If you're, it's not good if you're at a social function of some sort to be on your phone, but later on they actually can be a good tool for follow-up and everything.
Connecting.
I even think just following people on Instagram, say you just met someone, you keep lightly in touch, and then you like low-key see things that, they're reading that book, oh my god, I'm reading that too.
How many friends have you and I made from influencer events where we don't have their phone numbers, but we're like, you still follow so-and-so, she's so cute,
right? Or the thing is, it's like if I just got their phone number, I might forget. Honestly, Instagram stories keeps people more top of mind for me.
Which is a wild world.
And so I kind of like that because then I'll remember to be like, oh yeah, we all said we were going to hang.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whereas a phone, like just a phone number, I just like, I forget. Different. I forget. Okay. So we've talked a bit about ways people can meet people. Yeah. That's one thing. It's like, okay, say you want to have like a more fun social life, you need to be out there meeting people in general. But then how do you go from you've acquaintance to friend, really?
It's like another level of putting yourself out there.
It is.
It's like, okay, I've hung out with this one girl at my kickball team and she's cool. Maybe she's got a boyfriend and I don't, and I feel like weird, but it's like going up to her being like, hey, I'm going to go see this movie, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to come? Or like I feel like that's an instance when, if you're not already following each other on Instagram, getting a phone number, being like, hey, I'm going to go to the pool on Saturday. Do you want to come? I'm going to go to the beach. It might sound weird, but dating and looking for new friends, they're not that different. They're very, very similar. Obviously, dating is a more intense romantic feelings involved.
I think dating is just more high stakes.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're looking for something special.
You're looking for love.
Whereas with friends, it's like you don't have that, like the standards aren't that crazy. It's like, just people that are like fun to be around.
But sometimes for some people, it can also be super like, if someone's like really like, this is extra and exaggerated. Like, why doesn't anyone like me? Why do I have such a hard time finding friends? And it's like, it can be like a high stakes thing for some people. And it's just like, I feel like the act of,
true.
The act of like dating and finding new friends and seeing if it's all about vibes, finding the vibes. Do I click with someone? Do I want to hang out with them? Would they be fun to travel with, to go on a trip with? Because those are both similar milestones in a friendship and in like a romantic relationship, right? Like
I think that's true, especially let's say you move to a new city because you're a little more vulnerable of feeling like, you genuinely don't have other friends there. Although you may have people in your life, but now they're far away. So it does feel more just like, it kind of sucks if you're like trying to make friends and it's not working out. Whereas I feel like at where I am now, if I were to go meet someone and we didn't become friends, I literally wouldn't care at all.
Totally.
So it's different when you're like really trying to, the stakes are higher.
Yeah, the stakes are higher. If you're like, I just moved to a new building and you're like, even though I live alone, I moved here because there's like a lot of young people my age And then I like, oh my gosh, this neighbor girl looks so cool. And then I go up to her and she's like, not what I thought she was. And you're like, ugh. You know, it's like.
It's a little more disheartening because you're like, damn. Whatever you believe, you like start to see signs of in real life. So like if you actually are thinking like no one likes me, you will literally, your brain will start looking for ways to justify that or reinforce that. Whereas if you just start thinking like I make friends all the time in the most random ways, it's like you kind of just start to. I know that sounds like a little crazy, but I think it's like, true.
What you feel is what you focus on.
It's
like
true.
That's a quote that I just heard from Tony Robbins that like when I heard it, I like almost stopped my car because I was like, wow, what you feel is what you focus on, and what you focus on is what you feel.
It's
and
true.
Like,
and you act, you're gonna, God, I feel like this is like basic stuff kind of that we're saying, but we're like, it's so crazy.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah. No, but it's just true when you first realize it, I guess. But like, if you, have a belief, obviously it's going to affect the way that you act.
Yeah.
So say, for example, I think no one likes me, like it's so hard to make friends, then I'm going to like get in the elevator, I'm gonna like go on my phone, I'm gonna have my head down and be like, well, it's hard to anyway. Whereas if you're walking around really thinking, and you can change your belief too, like you just kind of have to start like telling yourself, if you change it to like you can make friends in the most random situation, like there are friends out there, there's so many people, then you do act different. You're just a little more like friendly vibe.
50 years ago, if you lived in a building, like let's say New York City, let's say any building, there might be an elevator man. Good morning. On your way to work, you're sharing an elevator with the same cute guy, the same cute girl or something. You are interacting more. Now it's just shoving over. And it's just like this weird, we are all so attached to our phones, and it's like it makes us all so comfortable. Like you said, it can be a good tool for connecting. I just feel like we've gone so far on the other side of the spectrum of like addicted to our phones. It's like affecting how we meet people. It's affecting how we date, how we meet friends.
But it's like there's no changing it. Like phones are here to stay, so you just use it as a tool. Yeah, just use it really.
You gotta adapt.
Yeah,
and it means that you have to put yourself out there even more so now. Like, how can I get these people to stop paying attention to their phone and pay attention to me? Because I want to be their new friend or something.
But going back to the like going from acquaintance, someone you just met, say at an event, to actually becoming a friend, that like funnel, you have to follow up. Like,
I like the friendship funnel. Tell me about that. You were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I heard it somewhere, I think on a YouTube video. Somebody was talking about how there's different like funnels to it. I forget exactly how they put it, but it's like, yes, people you meet, acquaintances, and then people are going to like slowly make it into different parts. Like, oh, maybe you invite them to go get coffee or whatever, and the people who actually go and are down, like they're now becoming a casual friend. And then after you do that enough times, or you start doing different things, you hang out at your house. That's like a more like, you don't just invite someone you just met to your house. It's like, that's like friends that you've hung out with enough times that you know they're not like
to let them know where you live.
So that's like another part of the funnel. And then it's like your best friends are like the other part, or maybe, I don't know, bottom funnel, where it's like not that many people are going to like, there's not even that much room there for that.
And I feel like you are slowly whittling down who I want to be with, who do I like, who do I like, how I feel when I'm around. And like, have you ever been around someone that's like always around in like your group of friends or someone in life, and you're like, oh my God, I don't like how I feel when this person comes around. But then it's like, you have to be a good friend to the friend who's inviting them. And then you're like, well, then am I the bitch because I want to throw a brunch with the same group of people, but exclude this one person? And then it's like, that's hard. That's a hard situation to be in.
Dynamic.
Because it's like, I don't know, when we were in school, I was bullied in like middle school, and that sucked. And I feel like that actually plays into a lot of how I act today, because I'm like, bullying sucks. Being excluded, that feeling is the worst. So I just want to never make anyone else never feel like that ever again. So it's so easy to turn to someone and be like, hi, and like welcome them in, even if it's for like a couple of seconds. And so it's like, from like a younger mentality, I feel like it was always like, be nice to everyone, blah, blah, blah. And then now as we've gotten older, it's like, you don't need to be everyone's best friend.
No, you don't.
You got to protect that energy.
Yeah. But
are guys like this?
I don't know.
I don't know if guys
I don't think so. No.
Like,
but they also just don't like ask as many questions.
That cracks me up.
I know. That'll be like,
The TikTok trend is real.
Their friend got engaged, and then they're like, oh my God, what happened? And they're like, oh.
Didn't ask. This happened to Matt, his friend, long-term relationship. They broke up, and I was like, oh my God, Matt, like, what happened? And he goes, I don't know. I didn't ask.
Like, what do you mean you don't
like,
know?
You spent a weekend with him. He's like, I don't know. I don't want to bring it up in case he didn't want to talk about it. And it's like, girls on the other side be like, what if he was really wants to talk
I'm
about
dying
it?
to rehash it.
Yeah, like,
I
are you
need
okay?
to talk
Do you
about
need
it.
support?
Yeah, it's interesting. No, I'm so glad that like
girlhood.
We actually have conversations. Yeah.
That's how you like bond with people. That's another talking about the friendship funnel. It's like the conversations you have. If like you're vulnerable with someone, or if like you can literally go from like being a stranger to like super good friends if you like connect on like a vulnerable story or like a traumatizing situation. Don't trauma bomb.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? If it just comes up on its own.
Yeah. I feel like, you can slowly become more vulnerable with people, but it's like, you don't want to do that when you like first meet.
No.
We all know... We've all been around someone where they said something and it was just like straight up inappropriate, and you're like, I actually don't know what to say to that. I feel like I didn't need to know that.
Oh my God.
You know, and
So
it's like,
many.
but you can share like a little fun little
It's
thing.
good to be open.
Yeah.
You should be open. But you
open.
should also know like what's appropriate conversation topic for the group.
Yeah, like,
You know?
I don't like medical history things or anything. I'm like, I don't need to know, like someone I just met at an event, you know?
Yeah. Like it would be
that's
weird
an
if we were at an
overtime.
influencer event and like, unless it was like, I don't know, like a foundation event gala raising money for, it's like, why would it come up unless you were, I don't know. We're going off on a tangent.
I
but
know.
Like,
No, but it's true.
it's relevant.
I think it's true because I've definitely have some friends where it's like they almost don't open up that much. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, but like,
Why?
this is not really that fun. Everyone I'm friends with, it's like, we can talk about like pretty
good
much
days
everything.
and your bad days.
Yeah.
And it's like when someone isn't willing to, like, it's okay if you're like, not everyone has different levels of like being super open and being a little more closed off depending on how you grew up or whatever. But it's like, if you've known someone for a long time and like you've shared with them and like they're not reciprocating back, I feel like I'd be like, why are your walls up? Like that makes me feel like, I don't know, not that you're fake, but kind of like, I don't know if I can trust you if you don't, like, I've trusted you with my secrets.
It's true.
Like, are you going to trust me with something like that?
And I feel like people who do make a lot of friends easily, like for example, our friend Adrian, I think is another person who clicks with people because she is open.
She's magnetic.
And she shares
for
stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
That personality.
Yeah, totally. And like, it's nothing that's like too far like inappropriate, but she'll
Never.
share stuff that's like, I don't know, maybe
Funny.
like a little like self-deprecating in a fun way, nothing like that crazy.
Yeah. Like funny. Everyone loves like a good
Don't ever talk down about yourself ever, but it's like, no, I feel like if it's just a little joke, it's
like you don't want to be known as the person that's like, they love to talk shit on themselves. You don't want to be known as that.
but just like one little thing you can laugh
It's like an
at it.
icebreaker.
You can laugh at
I feel
it.
like, you know?
Totally.
So wait, in terms of like putting yourself out there and just like making friends in random ways, what's like the most random way that you've made a friend or connected with someone?
Yes. Okay. Well, I feel like I've made a lot of friends through tennis, and I'm like, that's kind of not that random anymore. It's like,
It's a hobby.
But that is like honestly the best way to make friends.
Yes.
Is racket sports, guys. Life hack. I've made so many friends through that, and it feels very natural.
Yes.
But
Getting healthy hobbies. That's like a TikTok trend.
yeah,
right now.
it's a
like,
really good one where you're like in these situations with people. It's so fun.
go rock climbing, sign up for a pottery class. Like that's where
that
you'll
kind of
meet
thing.
friends. Yeah.
But especially, I would say like group activities, if you can sign up and it's like the same people that go regularly.
Yeah.
I think that's key. If you're going and it's like one person, you never see him again, like, yeah. But the most random way.
Yeah. Random way.
I would say, okay, so our friend Laura.
Yes.
Who-
Oh, that's
yeah.
funny.
I feel like it was the most random.
That's such a random.
The most random way I've ever become friends with someone, probably like even more random than like an event or something.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, that's kind of random, but kind of
Just like a situation.
Basically, there was a roommate who had moved out of a house I was living in, not the one that we lived in, a different one. And so
we're trying to fill the spot.
Yeah, we're trying to fill the spot. And so the girl who was moving out suggested Laura because that was her friend.
Yeah.
And so Laura was down to. She was going to move in. It was all good. Some things happened.
Where it's like, well, you first were connected to her by like someone gave you her Instagram profile, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I knew. I think I clicked on it and I was like, cool, yeah, she looks normal. If so-and-so, our old roommate, says she's normal and cool, then I trust it pretty much.
Filling a sublease situation is always stressful.
Yeah.
It's like you got 30 days, someone's moving out. And so that's like a stressful
Yeah, and
pressure.
generally I'm like, okay, I trust if, you know.
A friend recommends.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm sure it's fine. Something happened where the other roommate was like, no, like she can't move in, someone else is moving in. So that happened.
Yeah.
And me and Laura were like really confused because there was just miscommunication.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, so is Laura moving? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I ended up reaching out to Laura because we were like, what's happening? And she was like, I don't even know. And then we FaceTimed because we were like confused basically.
And you bonded over that.
Yeah. And then we were like, but actually, and like, but I could tell, I was like, oh, Laura would have been such a cool roommate. She
Yeah.
was like, I bought a bottle of Vouv and some like cupcakes I was going to bring when I moved in. I was like, oh my God, that's so fun. And she also is a content creator, more on TikTok. And yeah, I feel like both on the call we were like, wait, that kind of sucks, we're not gonna be roommates.
Yeah.
Like after we chatted a bit and then we're like, wait, should we like hang out? And we're like, honestly, yeah, I'm down.
I love
and so
that.
we did. We like got coffee and then hung out a few other times and then introduced
And then
Lauren.
I came into the picture.
Lauren to Laura, and then we all hung out. We've all hung out a bunch of times.
We were just bridesmaids in her wedding.
Yeah. So
And it's like you met her through like
that I never would have.
that is just such a funny random
like
thing.
random of just being open to it.
Yes.
Of being like, wait, actually you seem cool. Like, should we hang
Yeah.
out?
Like I feel like what a good thing to come out of like a stressful situation.
I know, honestly. Yeah.
The roommate swap thing is always like a stressful thing. And now we got
Yeah.
Laura in our life.
I know. And now
it's so funny.
but she lives in San Diego now.
I know.
But
it's
you know what? A
beautiful.
good reason to visit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Encinitas.
Yeah. Wait, what's like your most random?
I'd have to really think. My most random. I feel like Adrian. Like
Yeah.
that is just
That, honestly, you can't beat
that
that.
is
Your
wild. to me.
ex-boyfriend's tax
My
guy
I know.
manager.
And it's like, you know, you go through life and you date people and it's like some people are like, ugh, I regret this, I regret that. No, I do not regret dating that guy. I learned a lot about myself, about the partner that I want.
Yeah.
And I met Adrian through this. And if it weren't for Adrian, I wouldn't have lived with you, which would have led me here, which now I'm dating Matt, living with him. We have our puppy Chester. And it's just like, it's all these little steps that are all a part of it. And it's
all
just
it's worked out for the best, you know?
circle of life.
Yeah. But it is one of those things of where you could have been like down about it for a while, like,
Yeah.
oh, like you're single now
Yes.
at that point and like don't know a lot of people, but you're like, I'll meet whoever Adrian,
Mindset.
this random people.
It's about
Yeah.
mindset. And no, I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody's perfect. We all have our like days, weeks, months that we're like, I'm down and I'm trying to get myself out of it, but I'm down. And I just feel like hopefully conversations like what we're having is like helpful to other people. Like you're not alone if you feel alone, if you feel like it's hard to meet people.
Yeah.
You're correct. It's become a lot harder over the years
Yes.
to meet people in the wild.
And honestly, I think it's very normal too, especially as you get older, because it's not just like if you move to a new city. Also, like, especially if you live in like an LA or a New York, a bigger city that's expensive, people leave.
People leave.
People leave at a certain point. But the good news is new people come.
Yes.
I've realized just as I get kind of sad, like, oh, so-and-so moved. Like
Like when
bummer,
Shelby left LA,
for a
I
little
was
bit.
so sad.
But like, yeah, I've had some friends who have left, but then I'm like, the slot gets replaced quick. You know
If
what I
you're
mean?
open
The
to
friendship
it.
slot. Like, I feel like, I'm like, oh, wait, but I met a bunch of cool new people.
Yes. Well,
So
you were really good
it's
about
fine.
like putting yourself out there and like going to tennis and going. I remember when you were like, I'm going to try out this new place. And that is something that some people are afraid to go do. Like, I want to try a new hobby, but I don't want to do it alone.
Okay.
know?
Yeah. I mean, there are certain ones I might be more intimidated to do alone, but I saw on social media, one of our YouTube friends, she posted one time that she was nervous to go to a workout class alone. And I was like, wait, I didn't know people were like nervous to do that.
That's interesting to me.
And also she's very social and I just wouldn't expect
Yeah.
that.
I wouldn't expect that either because she is very social and very sweet.
Yeah. And she makes friends easily and, you know.
I could maybe relate to that. Like if I were to, like, I think the very first time I went to like an equinox or like a, what's it called? Soul cycle class.
I guess
where
there's
I
a
was
lot you
"Ooh,
don't
it's like
know."
trendy and like.
That's true. There are parts of the workout class experience where it's like the first time you go, I feel like you might look a little dumb because everyone knows like how to put the little shoe things
You're the
on and
newbie.
then- yeah. Yeah.
You're the newbie.
I know. Yeah. But no, I feel like
It's just
don't
important.
don't
to
be
do
afraid to go to like a workout class or any kind of like tennis, for example. Like most people actually go by themselves to those things.
Well, I feel like, yeah.
And so it doesn't feel weird.
Yeah. And
it might feel weird the first time if you've never done that before, but it won't after like a few.
Guess what? The second time won't feel as weird.
Yeah, it's true.
That's all about it. And there's like networking groups all over. You were talking about something earlier of like a group there. I'm in, not that I go on Facebook that much anymore, but like I'm in some like Facebook actors, industry, content creators, like groups where like those people are like selling furniture and I'm like, they've got good style. I like their style. It's like more curated to my vibe than just like the random Facebook marketplace in the neighborhood or something. And
totally.
there are people and there's like groups that are like, hey, I'm going to the beach with my friends this day. Open invitation.
I have seen that. Yeah, I forgot. That's a thing. It's like niche Facebook groups where people are like, they're
cool.
I saw one. I shot with this photographer one time and her friend came and I was like, oh, how'd you guys meet? And she was like, oh, this like social girls in LA group. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot. You can just, I mean, it's hit or miss. Let's be real. If you're going to something like that, it might be a flop. You might not really vibe with those people, but
you gotta
good
get
for
yourself
you.
to the next one. Yeah.
Try
There's run
it.
clubs everywhere. That's been like a trendy thing that
yeah.
I've seen like all over TikTok.
The run clubs.
The run club in Venice.
You know what though? I think it's like it helps to find the smaller ones. Like at this point, I think Venice Run Club
has become huge. It looks
I'm like, whoa, you might as well just go into any crowd of people. Like,
be my friend.
I think it helps. Like, I know, like Soho House, they do a run club.
Soho House does cool events,
and you don't have to be a member to go to the run club. I think.
Okay.
I've never gone to it. I'm like too lazy, honestly. I'm like, I'm good with my tennis. Because it's like 8 a.m. on a Sunday. I'm like, I'm sleeping.
8 a.m. on a Sunday.
Sleeping.
No.
But basically, that kind I would bet would be a much smaller group, and I just think that's like you're probably more likely to actually meet people if it's like literally 300 people at something. That
unless you like find someone on the outskirts of the group that's also looking overwhelmed, then you guys can bond over that. Like, I don't know, that does sound pretty intense to me.
Or like bring a friend, or I don't know. I feel like you would probably go and like meet people, but it would just be like a lot. It would
still be intimidating.
It's just, it would probably be better in a smaller group.
Like, here's an example. When I first moved in with you, before any of the squad went to base camp, I went to base camp first, like before any of them.
Right.
And that's what's so funny to me.
It's a class. Yeah.
HIIT workout class thing. And like, you've got like a really cool community. And so like I got a membership, and then like once a month they do these mixers, and they're like, we rented out this private room at a Mexican restaurant in downtown Santa Monica from like 5 to 8, drinks on us, like mixer. And like, I'll never forget, I was like down in the dumps, going on the dating apps, and it was I was striking out. And I like remember I went and I was like so nervous. I had a moment where I like sat in the car and I was like, you're going in. You're going to have a margarita. It's going to be fine. Yeah. Even if you don't know one person. And it's like, I went and then I like was like, oh, that's a coach that I recognize, and kind of like buddy up with them. And I don't think I like left that event with a ton of friends, but I left with like a sense of pride that I did it.
You did
because
it.
I was like, this is not my element. I'm out of my element. All these people are like super fit, buff people and parents, people with kids. And
oh my gosh.
And I was just like, we can all bond on margaritas, right? And it was fun. It was fun.
No, I think it's important to try, because it's like you could always go to something and like leave early if you don't think it's like really your vibe. But you never know if you don't go, like, oh, you could have met like your best friend there, or like your boyfriend or whatever. Like, you never really know. Like, you could go and meet a bunch of cool people.
Yes.
But I also think it's normal if you do go to something and it's a little more random. Yeah, it might be a flop. That's okay.
Flops are important to have in life,
sometimes.
Though. Like, it's like the failure thing. It's not really a failure because now that's just one door that like you're not going to go down or something. Flops are important to have.
I feel like though this has been pretty hopefully helpful.
I feel like we talked about a lot of good things.
Or hopefully like make you feel more normal if you've gone through similar things, because again, I feel like it's totally normal, because even if a lot of people move around and then you have to make a whole new friend group. Even if you didn't, people move. People don't even move, but their priorities change of getting married or having kids and whatever. And it's like, that changes things too. And so I think it's always good to just like be open to new friends and be like making new friends, but like meeting new people. Yeah. Okay, so that was the discussion with Lauren. Now I want to go into what has been for me the best way to make friends as an adult that I didn't really expect would end up I would make friends from, but it actually worked out really well. And I've made a ton of new friends in the last year, and it's felt natural. It hasn't felt forced. The thing that I found, and you guys have probably heard me mention it before, but I wanted to go into depth on how exactly I have done it and what I mean. And it is racket sports. Okay, I mentioned it in the episode, but I didn't really talk exactly about it. But basically, tennis is the main way I've made a ton of friends. And in a more general sense, I think it's just through niche hobbies, niche group activities. So rather than a run club, going to something more specific, like tennis, for example, a sport, a game where you're interacting with other people. I think another thing, if you can find a class or activity that you like to do where you sign up as a weekly almost like course program for 6 weeks. I know that they do this for things like pickleball and tennis. There are groups that you can find where it'll be the same group meeting every week for 6 weeks. That's even better because you're actually going to spend more time with those people. It kind of goes back to it takes 50 hours a week to become friends with someone. This is actually putting you in situations with the same people for multiple times without you having to put in the effort of, making plans again. It's just like a set thing, and you can see if you click with these people. So I think that's a great way. Although I actually didn't do that. I just went to one-off tennis classes. And what I found was kind of the same people would go to the same classes, not every week, but I would see familiar faces a lot. So when I would go to these classes, of course, I'm going to be friendly to people and say hello. I know that's a basic thing, but sometimes people don't do it. Sometimes people kind of are looking down or going on their phone. But if you are wanting to make friends, like, it sounds simple, but make eye contact with people. Like, seriously, you need to look at people, smile, be friendly. And sometimes people don't do that. So I feel like I do kind of have to say that. If you do that, and even if you just say hi, it's going to make it so later in that class, people feel like they can just start a random conversation with you because they know that you're kind of giving like a friendly vibe. So what I've done when I go to these classes, if I find somebody who's like a similar skill level, and we are chatting a little bit in the class, just basic small talk stuff like, oh, do you normally go to this class? Do you go to other ones? Do you live in the area? Just really basic things like that. And then I'll usually mention, sometimes I book a court with friends and we just play and rally. Would you ever want to do that? I'll usually kind of throw that out there. If someone seems cool and they're a similar skill level, I'll be like, I can let you know when I book a court. So I usually will take the initiative on that. And I feel like people are always really excited by that because they're like, oh yeah, of course they want to play more and it's for free basically. Because if I book a court, it's only $10 versus a live ball class. People are paying usually about $40 to $50 to go. And I'll kind of organize a group, or sometimes I'll just play with that one person. That is kind of how I usually go from just random person in a class to starting to hit with them sometimes. And those people that I have just decided to hit with, rally with, invite to these little group tennis rally sessions that I organize, those people actually have over time become friends. Not the first time that we rally, but usually after a while it'll be like, oh, should we get brunch after? Does anyone want to get happy hour? It becomes like that. And then over time it actually has become, we're planning trips together, me and a couple of friends. So that's honestly the best tip. And I will say there's more of a barrier to entry, and pickleball is just easier. If you're honestly just in it to make friends and you don't really care about the sport that much, because I love tennis. I don't even care if I didn't make friends from it, I would still do it. But if you were really kind of just there to meet people, I would suggest pickleball because you can hop into that and be pretty good in the first time that you play, and it'll be fun. And honestly, it is more social because the court is smaller and you're closer together with people. And just a lot more people play and know how to play. So that's one that I would suggest if you are just wanting to meet people. You can play pickleball pretty much anywhere. And I feel like it's kind of become a thing where people are meeting through these racket sports. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about that outside of it, but it's such a thing. Like, I love my tennis friends. I feel like I'm so glad I met them, and I can't imagine if I hadn't started playing, because it's just made it so fun to have this hobby that I love doing, but then also with people who I think are so fun, and I'm so glad I met. So that's why I always hype it and tell people racket sports, you know, it's a better way than just going to the gym. That's the friendship episode. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe or follow or whatever on whichever platform you're watching this or listening to this on. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll also have Lauren's info down below, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye.